Gondwana Records podcast.
Welcome back to Gondwana Records podcast with Caoilfhionn Rose, a singer and sound collage artist from Manchester who just released her third album, Constellation. In the previous episode, she talked about her passion for collaborating with different players.
To connect with other musicians is really fun, and it just means even more possibilities in what sound you can produce.
In this episode, she walks us through the creative process, challenges, and the stories behind the songs from Constellation.
I called it Josephine because I love that name, and it was written with my friend's little girl in mind, with the thought of like, what would I say to her if she was worried? What could you tell your younger self or a young person?
We have a Q&A session at the end of the show, and she will answer the questions from her fans. So stay tuned!
Draw out the words, speak your mind. Don't let your spirit weather through time. In the constellation, constellation, constellation.
Constellation is an album which is a collection of songs kind of mapping out a moment in my life, sort of pays homage to lots of loved ones and people I care about, and is full of like messages of positivity and hope. I think that's kind of at the core. So yeah, Constellation is kind of like, to me, that idea of like looking up at the constellation for kind of answers for like that path, that kind of where are you going to go, looking for. It's quite metaphorical, really. That was the concept.
And how did this journey start?
Yeah, I think I can clearly remember that the song Wandering Mind probably is the oldest song on this collection of tunes, and that really sparked like the sound world that I wanted to pursue. Came about because a friend of mine, Owen, sent me a kind of montagey collage of sound he'd created, the kind of foundations of the song, and then I responded with the lyrics over the top and the melody over the top, and it sort of, I think I sing in a slightly different way to how it just sparked a new direction basically. It was really inspiring hearing this sound world, and it had saxophone on it, and subsequently we've had Jordan Smart from Mammal Hands play on it, and it just all kind of spiraled and stemmed from there. I just wanted to get different musicians involved and open up my sound world a bit and explore something a bit different.
It was your plan to bring in a few different musicians, like I mentioned in the last episode. You just mentioned Jordan Smart, but yeah, we have Alan Taylor and John Ellis. And
yeah, it kind of came about, I suppose, because this album would have I would have started writing this probably in the lockdown, and I think I sent the song Wandering Mind to Jordan, who then sent it back to me with a few takes that he'd done of his melody over the top. And so I think it was kind of my intention to open up the sound world and get different players involved. And yeah, it makes the songs feel more special to have a lot of my friends on the song fall into place. My good friends Caoilfhionn and Janie Lee Cohen sing on the chorus, and they're both amazing musicians. It just feels a real honour to get to have them on my music and involved in my project. And also I just love that working with different people and musicians means that the sound world kind of evolves song to song. There's just different character in there and different approaches. It just keeps it really fresh.
Gondwana Records podcast.
Is there any memorable moments or story in terms of making this album?
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, one thing that comes to mind is the song Josephine, which is probably one of my favourites on the album. It could have potentially just been completely unfinished if it wasn't for a collaboration on that tune with Kirsty Almeida, who's a really great songwriter and singer. And she just asked me did I want to have a couple of sessions of songwriting, and she came round and she was asking me if I had any songs on the go, and I had the sort of bare bones of Josephine and the concept. I think I had the first verse and the chorus, and then she just encouraged me to keep going with it because I'd sort of lost the spark with it. I didn't really see it, what it could be. And then following on from that, I got Gavin Barris involved playing the double bass and just added lots of layers on there, and it really came to life with all these other players and Rich Williams too, helping me with production. I'm really glad that song, that was encouraged to finish it, because it's a really bright moment on the album to me, and I love the concept behind it, the meaning and intention. It feels nice that it was drawn out of me and encouraged.
Who is Josephine?
Well, it started off as a working title. I called it Josephine because I love that name, and it was written with my friend's little girl in mind, with the thought of like, what would I say to her if she was worried? What could you tell your younger self, or a young person who's in the state of this world? And the first line, don't worry, it's a very hard thing to not worry. It's about comforting someone who is younger, and so yeah, what would I say to someone basically? As you said, the song starts with don't worry, and I think a lot of your songs, it's like going to therapy. Yeah. And the entire album is filled with hope. Positivity that you give us is something that we really need in this uncertain time. What made you want to write these encouraging songs? I think usually it stems from a lot of like self-talk. I'll always try and figure stuff out for myself, and I'm, like keeping diaries and stuff or lyrics. I always want to be more positive myself, and so yeah, it's funny, even though the songs sort of say you and talk not directly about myself, it's sometimes it is a kind of self-lessons and self-talk to be more positive and keep that spark in myself. But yeah, I feel like I don't always follow it, but it's it's definitely a really cathartic process, writing with that in mind, and also just trying to fuel and ignite that in others as well. I hope that it helps people anyway.
So you enjoy writing lyrics? Sometimes, when I speak to some singers, they actually struggle writing lyrics, but is it not like that? You enjoy?
I do enjoy writing lyrics. Sometimes I don't even know that I'm writing lyrics for a specific song. Like, I'll just write lots of things. I keep multiple notebooks all the time and jotting things down, and like things I get from books or that I collect things along the way, and then I'll return to these ideas later and rework them. And often I think I will collect like quite a few ideas for songs, and then I'll start more composing of the music, and then I'll bring in words and try to fit them over the top of the melodies and foundations of music that I've started on. But it kind of can come about in different ways, and I love words, I love writing, but it's something I'm just trying to work on more and keep getting inspiration for.
Is there particular musicians you think they are really good writer in terms of lyrics?
Yeah, definitely. It's something I'm getting more and more interested in. I feel like because I definitely was more of a melody driven person, but now I'm really always looking for what a song's about, and I want to know more, and I love the stories behind songs as well. So someone who I love in particular is Rachel Samani, and her songs are just filled with like vivid imagery and lovely sentiment and stories, and I feel like I really resonate with a lot of her music. And then as well, when she is gigging and she tells the story behind the songs, I just think it just adds to it as well. Just hearing that insight, she's just really lovely and really, very great lyricist.
What's her name again?
Rachel Samani.
Rachel Samani.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's got a beautiful new album actually that I've been playing it non-stop. It's kind of like, she's quite contemporary folky, but on this album I think she got a kind of bunch of jazz musicians to play live on the tunes, and there's a real energy to all the takes of the songs are really kind of, they sound almost improvised, some of them. There's a lot of like character and a lot of, it's just really beautiful and vivid.
What were you listening to when you're producing this album?
I'm always looking for new music, so I think that is one thing that I like a lot of contemporary music, and I'm just always seeking for new sounds. So I would say I was probably listening to a lot of Massive Attack, a lot of like Elizabeth Fraser singing, and then a bit of Martina Topley-Bird. Love those kind of like beats, the trip hop sound, but just loads of stuff. I'm always listening to lots of things, like from traditional folk to jazz to some pop and indie. Like I think all my interests filter in. I just like lots of different stuff.
Throughout this album, if I'm listening from the beginning to the end, there's a sense of very dreamy and starry, sonical experience. When you produced this album, was there anything that you wanted to, in terms of like a music production, was there anything particular you focused on?
Yeah, it's funny because the way I tend to work when I'm producing my music, I like to just experiment, and often things will arise through just happy accidents. I'm not mega technical in it. I think I have a basic knowledge, and then I kind of just will explore with different reverbs and different delays and stuff until I find a sound that really is what I want to achieve. I've been playing around with a lot of tremolo recently on my voice. I think that happens at the end of the song Constellation. It was just through like seeing what would that sound like. It was just an idea, and then it kind of, you just go with it, I guess, when it seems to fit. So yeah, just through a lot of experimentation. I think sometimes I have got a sound in mind that I want to chase, and then at other times it is more just like trial and error.
What new challenges did you bring in?
I think I just really wanted the sound world to move on and to be a new chapter. So it was about deciding where do you start with that, like when you're writing an album, what do you want it to sound like? It's endless. So that's exciting, but also a challenge to kind of hone in and make it all sit as a body of work. So there are actually some songs that didn't make it onto this album that I had written and fully produced, but they didn't fit as a kind of body of work. So I guess that's always a challenge, sculpting out the album so it's cohesive and so it's like flowing.
You already performed this album live and there are more shows coming up. What make you feel so special about playing music and sharing?
Yeah, it's been absolutely lovely sharing the new stuff live. And on the last tour I played supporting Hanyurani, Jasmine Myra joined me on the saxophone and Rich Williams on the guitar and the sampler. So we played as a little trio, and it seemed to just come to life. It was really nice having those elements, and such a joy to play with those guys. So I just love playing music, and it's great to connect with people through that. I'm really glad to be out gigging again, and it's just been really nice to get back into it.
What part do you like in terms of live performing? What is it that you really love?
Well, I guess I like how different the songs actually sound. It can be different every night in a subtle way, I suppose. Through sometimes mistakes, even nice things come about. Like actually on this last tour with Hanya, on the last gig, Rich's sampler just like shut down, and then me and Jasmine were left like lingering on a chord, and we just had to keep on playing, and we kind of began improvising then, and I was just singing a kind of drone song. It kind of sounds not very good, but it seemed to work, and we carried it, and I like the excitement of that, even though it can be really nerve-wracking as well. I like that the songs take on their own life a bit more, which is why I think it's good to actually play out tunes before you've written the album, because they can take new shape, and you see what works or how you could develop them further.
Gondwana Records podcast.
And we're going to move on to Q&A. We have some questions from your fans. The first question is from Astrid Helgren. What inspirations have been present during the process of all albums so far? Anything new, different with the new one?
Yeah, I think as well as like all the music I listen to, I'm inspired by lots of different things. So I've gotten quite into poetry recently, and I'm really a big fan of Mary Oliver, who isn't alive anymore but has just an extensive body of work of poetry, and her poems are all really nature filled, and she's positive, but she's also got a kind of, there's a melancholy in her work as well. It's kind of quite isolating sometimes, and that's really resonated with me recently. So that's something I've been kind of thinking about a lot, words, and I'm a big fan of art and everything really. I'm a big David Hockney fan, so just his actual energy for life and his spirit in making his art really inspires me. How he's just so keen to keep creating, and he's got such a vast amount of artwork that really inspires me. So yeah, things like that really.
Thank you. The next question is from John Bone. What's your favorite lyrics from the new album, and why?
My favorite lyrics? Well, I like singing the chorus of Josephine, just little fires, let them burn. It's not so much because of the lyrics, but the way they fit in with the melody. It's just quite choral and it feels quite powerful to sing that. It's really fun to sing. And I guess the sentiment behind it is positive, just to, allow things to just be. That's kind of what I intended with that. Little fires, just kind of getting perspective and stuff like that.
Thank you.
As you fall into place, let yourself come alive.
Next question comes from Kieran Perella. What was your inspiration for Momentary? It's an amazing song.
All I see around me, all I do is not what I feel. Hold yourself tightly. This is just momentary. This is just momentary. So much life around me.
Momentary was actually 2 songs that we stuck together. I think the second part of it was just a jam, me and Rich Williams, and we just thought, would that fit together with the start of this other idea I had on the go? And so that's hence the kind of unusual key change. It kind of evolves, and I suppose the idea behind Momentary, like, again, the lyrics are kind of about that, that life just moves on so fast, and it's about everything's momentary, so you can embrace that, and that can kind of fuel you in a way to just be a bit more fearless and a bit more, just inspire you, I suppose, to carry on. And
Yeah, thank you. I love that song so much that I like the fact that there are 2 parts.
Yeah.
When the second bit starts, I'm like, oh my god. It's very hopeful, the second bit.
That's good.
The last question comes from Scott Young. Is there a particular feeling you have that lets you know when a song is complete? And have you ever released a song thinking that there's something else I can add to that?
Definitely, yes. I think sometimes I just have to say goodbye to some songs. I think, like, I accept that they are just what they are at the time, and I kind of like the idea of revisiting songs and reworking them as well. There's so many ways to present an idea. I think sometimes I try to fit too many things into one song, so you just kind of have to draw a line under it and move on sometimes when it's not about the same song, if that makes sense. And I definitely have shared some songs in the past that I think I would definitely do differently now. It's just, I guess time just does that. It makes you think about things differently and how you would approach them, but that's the beauty of it really, because there's so much more to be done and to create.
Yeah. What's the sign that you're like, this is it, this is finished?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I think it's different for every song really. Like sometimes a song does feel very done and you feel like you've said it and you've done it as best as you can at that point, but at other times I think just that's the nature of being an artist, I guess, that you always wonder, you could do things differently. You think of a million different ways that you could do one thing. So
all I do is know what I feel. Hold yourself tightly. This is just momentary. This is just momentary.
Could you tell me about the song called Simple?
okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's one of my favorite songs. Both lyrics and the music is just amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Can you talk about how the song started?
Yeah, that one I think came about through quite a lot of improvising and just jamming. It's a really playful tune, and I think the kind of core chords are like just came about through a jam that me and Rich did, and then it was just a lot of layering up, and kind of the improvised piano parts over the top were just me sort of having fun and really like letting myself be free and enjoy the music. And yeah, it was just a lot of fun making that song really.
When I'm listening to it, I had this like, you're freeing my mind.
That's nice. Oh, lovely.
Yeah,
That's
it's
great.
like a flying feeling. It's really, really nice.
I think writing the lyrics to that song was quite like a meditative thing. It was like quite a visual like idea. It kind of, there was a lot of imagery in that tune. So yeah, it's definitely, it was fun to write.
You play the guitar as well.
A bit.
A bit?
Yeah, I don't have any like theory background in guitar, so it was really, even though I wrote most of my like first album on the guitar, it was through like play and experimentation, because I didn't know much about it theoretically. It really excited me and I felt like I was finding loads of new sounds on it. But actually it was very like simple stuff I was playing, but it was, yeah, I guess that was a good use of just experimenting though and having fun with it.
But your true love is piano.
Yeah, I love the piano and I find it very, very cathartic to play the piano, and I'd love to keep working on that and writing more piano-based music now. I think that's my idea for going forwards. I'm getting quite interested in actually notating music now. There were a couple of songs on Constellation where I actually notated some of the parts, and that's not something I usually do. I tend to just store it all in my head and play through memory and feel. But to notate the music, I think you can see it really differently and construct it more intricately, which is very new to me. So yeah, that's something I plan to do more of.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure speaking with you and knowing more about the Constellation.
Thank you, Mari.
Thank you.
Gondwana Records podcast.
Coming up next in episode 13 and 14, we'll sit down with Nikolai Svenborg and Jonas Cardiff, the Danish duo Svenborg Cardiff. Thank you for joining us and see you on the other side.